Hey, and welcome back to Total. My name is Nick.
I'm Joe.
And today we're going to show you guys a little run through about the Mustang, show you some things that we definitely need to work on, and maybe encounter some new problems with the car. But before we do that, we actually got some mail from one of you, one of our subscribers. We actually wanted to share a little bit of that. So, who's going to do the honors?
I'm closest to the table, so might as well. It's a thing.
I really wonder if this person put a lot of effort in it. From what I understood, it's something that we can definitely use in the workplace.
It's an awesome garage sign. We can use this.
Nice, nice. Something to decorate these empty walls over here. Okay.
Because them walls is empty.
Yeah, definitely. We also got this. Whoever did this really put a lot of effort into it.
It's adorable.
Would they do it for you? For me?
Definitely not for me, man.
Okay, let's see what's inside of this. Feels like some kind of tin.
I'm gonna guess that's an elephant.
An elephant?
Yeah.
Did you have biology?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This is really nice. It's
that has got to be the biggest bottle cap I've ever seen, man.
nice, a garage bottle cap. Really cool.
Sweet.
Decent material. Thank you very much. If you would like to send us something, just send us a DM and we'll let you know how you can do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, the first problem we have with this Mustang is that the hood is stuck right now. It does not open, it does not budge. That's a problem. We will make a separate video about how we will open this hood. Joe will tell you guys and Joe will show you guys. After we are done with that, we will show you the insides of the engine bay. The first thing that we noticed, and you guys probably saw as well, once we opened this hood, is the color difference. The car itself is white. The hood has a tan glow gold color, and over there in the back of the engine bay there's a ruby red. And if you have a close look over there, there's a little spots of orange as well. So what does this tell us? This car at least had 3 different kinds of paint in it. So what was the original color? No idea. We'll find out. One of the first things that we noticed besides the color is the fact that the battery is missing. We do have one pole and the second pole, so we have probably a negative and a positive charge, which is good. That means that that part of the cables are intact. But without a battery, we cannot test the electronics of this car. One of the other things that we noticed immediately is the fact that this tube is ruptured and the coolant has spilled out over here onto the other parts of the engine. That's why it's crystallized. Those are the additives that after 26 years of standing still have crystallized onto the engine. That is something that we definitely have to look at in order to keep this engine cool. One of the other things that I want to show you guys is the fact that the crankshaft isn't rusted on to the car. As you can see, if I move it with my 20mm socket, it still turns and all the belts, including the fan, still spin. Which is a good sign, because that means that it isn't rusted on the inside. Another good thing is the state of the radiator here. It's 26 years old, this aluminum is brittle and it folds easily if damaged, but it still looks in reasonable condition. I mean, there are a few folds over here, but overall could have been a lot worse in a car that's almost 40 years old. I also want to take a look at the air filter. I sprayed some penetrating fluid on this little bolt here in order to make it come loose because it was rusted on, and right now it comes off quite easy. So we can take the lid off and we can have a look at the air filter. This looks reasonably good for a car that has been sitting still for 26 years. This is in a good condition. Now I'm going to show you the most crucial thing that we have to do in this car in order for it to work again. And if you are a car guy that knows a lot about cars, you know that this is something that you just cannot leave undone. If you have a look here at the windscreen wipers, you see that this will simply not do. I mean, damaging your glass? Come on. You know how cars can be compensation for certain men? Well, this car needs some compensation of its own. I mean, have a look at its antenna. It's weak, it's flaccid, doesn't really do much. Filthy. These wheels look awful. The tires are what we call square. They probably don't have that much grip anymore and they don't keep air well anymore. The wheels, the rims are rusted, but at least this one still has its flare hubcap. As you can see, this one does not. This car has a lot of rust. I mean, this has to come out and has to be replaced. We probably have to weld in some new bodyworks in order to make this function again. The chrome trim is missing on this side and on the other side as well. We have to find a replacement for that and reinstall it. The Mustang 2 logo is still intact and still looks good. If we move over to the paint of the car, that's a whole different story. This is a washed car. The dust was so bad that it actually got inside the paint and we have to really give this car a new lease on life with a new paint job. We also found this little hole that probably holds the antenna for the CB radio that we talked about earlier in the first time we introduced this car. Some keen observers might see that there is a little heart shape in the dust here. That's because there was a sticker on there in the shape of a heart. That was a little heartbreaking that when we removed the sticker, there was a little hole in there. Let's unlock the trunk and see if the mechanism still works and have a look inside. Well, the mechanism still works and the trunk stays up. That's good. As you can see, there's this ginormous blue-green pressurized gas tank in the back here. Why? Because this car runs on low petrol gas. We can also open up this container. I have no idea what's in here. So let's have a look. The valves for the high pressurized gas tank. They still look in a pretty good condition. I mean, I see no rust. Rubber is still flexible, but I don't know enough about liquid petrol gas in order to say or make a judgment about that, so we will leave that to Joe. There is still a spare tire here, which is good, but the state of the tire doesn't look so good anymore, so we will probably have to replace the spare tire as well. There's also a jack still here, a part from the back bumper. That's nice. We figured that we had to replace this, and somebody cut a hole in here in order to reach the tail lights. This is something that we will have to repair. So another thing I want to show you guys is how the interior of this car looks. If you have a look at the seats, you can see that the leather is still in good condition. It's nice, it's still black, it's not too soft and doesn't flake. As you will probably notice looking at the steering wheel, there are two things. One, it's mounted upside down. Two, the Mustang is missing its tail. That has to be replaced. Why? Because a Mustang without its tail is not a Mustang and we will not stand for it. There's a giant hole in the dashboard here. This is where the radio should have been. Somebody cut out the radio and removed it. This is something that we have to fix. We have to order a new radio and restructure the dashboard in order for it to look new again. Just by looking at the dashboard right now, you will see two gauges. There's still a tachymeter gauge in there and a speed gauge. It's all in kilometers an hour, which is good because we're in Europe. Also, the fuel, the alternator and the temperature gauge are still in there. It also has that lovely 70s brown fake wood look that fits the car perfectly. Okay, the 4-speed manual is also still in a pretty good shape over here. As you can see, it shifts gears quite smoothly and it still looks perfectly fine. Behind that is the e-brake, which also still sounds like it's working. In order to know that for sure, we have to be able to drive it and test it, but we will do that as soon as the car runs. The springs aren't sagging, they still are in tension, That's a good sign. I took off the rear wheel and you can see the drum brake now. Just like the rest of the car, it's pretty rusted, pretty faded, but by using the handbrake, this still functioned and I could easily take off the rear wheel, so the functions are still good. We have to take it apart in order to have a good look. That's something that I'll leave to Joe, because that's something that goes above my expertise. By taking off the rear wheel, we can also see the exhaust very clearly. We have the cat in here, and this is one of the exhaust pipes. As you can see, it's cracked pretty bad over there. So it still feels somewhat solid, so there probably are still some usable parts in there. But by the looks of it, at least until here, everything from the back has to be replaced. Over here we see the leaf springs. They still look pretty alright to me. I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough of the Mustang. Don't forget to leave a like if you did. Subscribe and hit the bell if you want to stay in the know about what's happening with this car. Also follow us on Instagram @TotalOfficial, and I will see you guys next time.